Hi, everyone. Again, on behalf of I for Policy, I would really like to thank you all for taking part in this really important discussion on the important role that content creators and information technology can play to battle this disinformation and to also support a more informed and cohesive community online and offline. My name is Islam Al-Beiti. I'm a member of the I for Policy community of local innovation community leaders who support collaborative policy reform. I'm also a bass player and a radio DJ, and I joined the foundation to coordinate the Don't Go Viral campaign and to also curate all the incredibly rich content we've been receiving. Of course, I want to start by thanking all of the incredible content creators, over 500 applicants who've joined the campaign. It's been really incredible to see all this incredible art coming from all over our beautiful continent. So this session is going to be moderated by Mr. Moez and also joined by our panelists, Bobi Wine, musician and member of parliament, all the way from Uganda, Miss Lulu Diva, musician and artist from Tanzania, Mrs. Jocelyn, Facebook strategic media partnerships lead across sub-Saharan Africa, awesome, and also Dr. Shakira, Choonara, Woman of the Year in Health from South Africa. So the way it's going to work is Mr. Moez Chakchouk will introduce each category, and then there's going to be a discussion about in this panel discussion. And yeah, so again, thank you all for this incredible panel. I'm really happy that I'll be facilitating the Q&A after the session. I would also like to inform all our listeners that there's going to be different channels in which you can ask your questions after the panel discussion, either on Facebook or Slido. So the video is going to be streaming on Facebook, Slido, and also digitalassembly.africa. Yeah, again, I'm just really happy to be here and to welcome you all to this really incredible panel. Just one more thing before we kick off. Once the discussion is over, we are going to be announcing the winners of the Don't Go Viral campaign. Our CEO, John Stever, is going to be announcing the winners, and Mr. Moez is going to be introducing each category. So I'm really excited for everyone to get to see the winners and to also be able to experience beautiful art that we've also been very immersed in over the last 6 weeks. So I'll hand over to Mr. Moez and enjoy the session, guys.
Dear all, thank you very much for this quick introduction, and welcome to the session Don't Go Viral, Crowdsourcing Creative Content to Combat the Epidemic, part of the Pan-African Digital Assembly on COVID-19 to co-create our response and recovery. I would like to start this session by citing the words from I for Policy open letter on COVID-19 that says, to survive this crisis, to rebuild our societies, and to safeguard our communities in its aftermath, demands that we unlock our collective problem-solving potential, our resources, and our shared humanity. This Pan-African Digital Assembly is activating our collective intelligence to design the most effective response and recovery to the crisis. It has brought together more than 150 community innovation hubs and more than 10,000 entrepreneurs with leading experts to create our response and recovery actions. In light of the challenging context in Africa and beyond, this is an incredible success and a testament to the fact that global cooperation is not only needed, but it's possible. Before introducing this session and our panels, I would like to thank our partners and the Innovation for Policy Foundation, as well as the partners of the Pan-African Digital Assembly for their cooperation in making this dialogue possible. Notably, I would like to acknowledge the partnership of Agence Française de Développement, AFD, Inabel, Belgian Development Corporation, Facebook, GIZ Make IT, the German Development Corporation's program to support tech entrepreneurship and digital transformation in Africa. I want also to highlight the ecosystem and report partners, including Africa's Business Heroes of the Africa Netpreneur Initiative of JACMA, AfriLabs, Brighter Bridges, Bridge Council, and Digital Africa. Online right now, on the other side of your screens, there are over 200 community partners across the continent who have signed us up to participate, facilitate, and engage their communities. Thousands have registered and participated in these sessions, including this one. At UNESCO, we are dedicated to ensuring multi-stakeholder and multidisciplinary debate. It's only by coming together across broader and across disciplines that we can ensure an efficient and impactful global response to this pandemic and to the infodemic that has accompanied it. Thank you to all our partners and the Pan-African Digital Assembly for coming together to demonstrate that we can achieve and we put this commitment to dialogue into practice in the face of the pandemic. Together, we are changing the world of today, but also the world of tomorrow, as we work together to recover and rebuild through our joint creativity and resilience for more inclusive future. Artists, celebrities, and international institutions have come together and played a central role in the response to the COVID-19 pandemic and in the fight against the epidemic of disinformation. This session celebrates the over 500 contributions from more than 40 countries to the Don't Go Viral campaign launched by UNESCO and the I4 policy on the 1st of April this year. The campaign crowdsources creative content and addresses the urgent need for culturally relevant and openly licensed information in African languages to inform communities about how to prevent the spread of COVID-19 and to combat the epidemic spreading disinformation and misinformation about the virus. The intent is to produce creative content and that can circulate across the globe with a focus on Africa, where populations are more exposed to risk given both lack of healthy infrastructure and lack of quality information. The voice and influence of innovators and artists and the role of the cultural and creative industries in raising awareness and disseminating information cannot be overestimated. I really appreciated it in this campaign, and I can say that artists can share and amplify crucial information among fans and followers, reaching an immense audience by using their talent to diverse forms and cultural expressions to engage with people in response to the crisis. Across Africa, radio, videos, and music clips, thanks to internet access, remain among the most efficient way of ensuring information is shared in both urban and rural areas. Contemporary, global, and African performing artists are not only looking for information, but also serve as continent role models for communities to emulate. As I mentioned before, since its launch, this campaign has received more than 500 submissions from more than 40 countries from across Africa. The campaign's social media posts on Facebook and Twitter alone have reached more than 125 million people so far. The videos have been watched by countless more through YouTube and messaging platforms and have aired on local radio stations, including community radios in Africa across the world. Top artists from across Africa and the African diaspora have joined the campaign, including Pali Ipupa, Timi Dakolo, Whale Turner, Stomby Roy, Ricardo Banks, Lee Smith, and Sun Kuti, DJ Awadi, and Yusundur, and two of our panelists today, estimate Bobi Wine and Lulu Diva, to name but a few. Through UNESCO's office in Africa, the I4 policy community of more than 170 innovation hubs in 45 African countries, and in partnership with BBC World Service and France 24, the campaign is empowering communities across Africa to host, mobilize, and develop information initiatives in support of national and global health agencies to combat the spread of the disease, reaching communities most at risk. In the next hour and a half or so that we will spend together, we will talk about how culture combined with digital technologies can be an answer to the ongoing crisis of dignity and of humanity that this pandemic has presented. We will first have debate with the panelists, and it is now my pleasure to introduce the panelists to this session. As you mentioned, Bobi Wine is a musician and member of the parliament from Uganda, Lulu Diva, musician from Tanzania, Jocelyn Muhutu Remy, Facebook strategic media partnership, a lead across sub-Saharan Africa, and Dr. Shakira, Choonara, Woman of the Year in Health from South Africa. So thank you for joining us here today. And I will start first. I would like to invite, of course, all the panelists to introduce themselves and their respective work and answer these introductory questions. From our perspective, what is the role and responsibility of artists, innovators, and ICT specialists in raising awareness and fighting the epidemic around COVID-19? So I give the floor to Bobi Wine, and I will ask a further question later. Bobi Wine, you hear us?
It's a pleasure to be here. I'm honored to be part of the Pan-African Digital Assembly on COVID-19. And it's always my humble pleasure to give the little that I can give, both as an artist and as a former leader. I find it exciting and indeed important in this day and age for us as artists to be able to employ our massive and resourceful talents to combat the infodemic, well knowing that the coronavirus has been a massive pandemic all over the world and indeed in Africa. But for us here in Africa, it is not just a pandemic, but like it's mentioned, it is an infodemic in the recent past. And indeed what moved me to employ music to communicate to the people was because the pandemic was not taken as serious as it warranted. So much misinformation was coming from different lines. And indeed, it was being massively embraced, especially by the young people, well knowing that the young people tend to gravitate so much on the informal sources of information, that is social media and other ways. And indeed, everybody seems to own their own source. So that in a way can be catastrophic, and it calls upon people that have voices, and in particular this time talk about the artists and the creatives. It's important that we employ our talents, but again, give well-researched information that is instead going to save lives, not to jeopardize lives.
So if I can, you kicked off this Don't Go Viral campaign, and with your hit song Coronavirus Alert. Can you tell us more about why you wrote this song? And of course, your engagement is essential, but this song was like a kickoff of our campaign, and you inspired us, and you inspired other also artists in that field. So how you can tell us more about it?
Sure, thank you very much. I was trying to say that it's interesting how amazing and important things come out in a very informal and interesting way. Now, this song came out of a conversation with my singing partner, Nubian Lee, when we were looking at ourselves as not just leaders, but as artists and influencers, well knowing that in the past, my music has moved from just entertainment to edutainment, otherwise known as education through music. So we thought of our contribution as artists, and indeed, well knowing that music is powerful, we decided to employ music. But like I was saying, the pandemic was not taken as serious as it so warrants here in Uganda, just like many other parts of the world. And we thought we should attach enough seriousness to this issue. But again, also taking part in the Don't Go Viral campaign, it was more or less mandatory for people like myself to give the right information, well knowing that the pandemic gets even more ravaging to our people if they are misinformed. Here in Africa, our biggest resource is information, it is knowledge, especially because our healthcare system many times tends to be wanting. We needed to give the right information to the people so we can prevent the further spread of the pandemic. And by not giving the right information, we think the world, and Africa in particular, would be in trouble. So much misinformation was going on social media. Some people were suggesting that the COVID-19 is a virus that affects only the rich. And in the ghetto where I come from, many were joking about it as a disease that affects only people that go to the plane, since it's initially the people that suffered it were the perceived high class. So it was upon us to give the right information, and I'm glad that at least the right information is superseding the misinformation, and I encourage all of us to, continue on the right path.
Yes, thank you, Bobi. Thank you. It's very inspiring and very good. Now I now pass the floor to Lulu Diva. You have also joined the Don't Go Viral campaign with a dynamic public service announcement, mobilizing artists and innovators to join the campaign, but also underlying the importance of solidarity in our response to the pandemic. In your career, you have worked with artists from across East Africa and the continent, and have tirelessly promoted cultural content in local African languages. In your opinion, what role do cultural actors, artists like yourself, play in ensuring a response to both this pandemic and to the epidemic of disinformation and misinformation that accompanies it? Why is it important to ensure these messages are in local cultural forms, both in terms of languages, but also content and style? And please notice that UNESCO is dealing with indigenous languages, and particularly in Africa, we have a variety and diversity of languages that are really, really important to consider while ensuring the access to information. Diva, the floor is yours. Can you unmute your mic, please?
Okay, good day to you. I'm a Lulu Abasi, Tanzanian artist known as Lulu Diva. It's my pleasure joining you today as being a part of the panel to contribute to my thoughts in the conference. It's pressure, misinformation, the epidemic, it threats us twice as it's in the virus, and it can lead to strain and stress. The power of culture to build healthy communities and improve well-being for all. It's important to educate our people with our culture. Found in our societies to mind them more by using local language. Example, Tanzania, we are using Kiswahili to reach a majority, appropriate style and understandable content. This is to catch their attention and awareness. So it's very important to, if we want to educate some peoples to use our language, it's more, I think it's more important, yeah, for me to speak my thoughts to the people and reach over 1 million people, telling them though the social network and medias about improving our health, especially during this pandemic. The community can be engaged in both ways to spread the worst of the better, but if we ensure they get access to trusted source, the community can be good enough to spread a good word and keep measures. Here.
Yeah, thank you, Lulu. Thank you, Lulu. I think it's very, very important what you highlighted, and I now turn it to Jocelyn Remy. Before working at Facebook, you served in various roles at Disney, Viacom, and Thomson Reuters, bringing entertainment programs, television channels, and international news to media platforms around the continent. One of the commitments of the Don't Go Viral campaign is ensuring that creative content is developed, which is locally adapted and openly licensed, as well as in local languages, as already mentioned by Lulu. To reach communities most in need, and of course, as I mentioned before, also indigenous people. Throughout your career, you have been committed to great storytelling, empowering African media, and amplifying Africa's voice in the world. Can you tell us more about why both a Pan-African and local approach is needed to successfully harness multimedia and digital technologies to combat the pandemic and
I'm Jocelyn Muhuturemi from Facebook. I am in charge of our relationships with the media industry as well as the entertainment industry. We are very, very excited to see how the entertainment industry is using our platforms extremely effectively during this period of the pandemic to communicate messaging and we have seen artists and other public figures like Bobi Wine really using the power of their social media to encourage correct information to circulate. One of the aspects of my job is really to fight misinformation, and at Facebook we have really dedicated enormous resources to fighting fake news on our platforms via independent fact-checking. We have fact-checkers that work on our platform with us to remove as much as possible false information. We have seen some very damaging false news circulating, like that people should eat garlic to get cured of COVID, and also a lot of misinformation and racism against the Chinese community and Chinese people, for example. So we are really doing our best to fight this. We also use artificial intelligence to detect content that is going viral, and we pull it down. So we have seen some success with this, but still there is still way too much misinformation out there. That's why we really count on these kinds of campaigns like the one you've organized, Don't Go Viral, and the help of public figures, singers, people who are very popular like Lulu, Diva, and Bobi Wine, to really communicate that message. It's much more effective to use the youth and artists and that kind of public figures with whom the audience has an emotional connection to transmit the messaging. So I'd like to congratulate you for this initiative, as well as the artists. You're all doing a very, very good job. Please continue to use our platforms. We make them available precisely for this kind of messaging to go out there, the correct messaging.
Very good. Yeah, I think this is exactly what we're supposed to Facebook to be used, and the artists can use this platform to disseminate their messages, but also to produce their performance. So I now turn to Shakira, Dr. Shakira Choonara. So you are an established research advocacy specialist in public health. One among many of your notable and influential roles to date was that you were appointed to the inaugural African Union Youth Advisory Council, a firm advocate on youth issues, and you were recently part of a team which published first ever pieces on the youth transformation and youth responsibility in the Lancet. Can you tell us more about the importance of involving youth in the response to the pandemic and epidemic, and how to ensure messaging and content target and involve youth from the beginning? What are some of the best practices or lessons maybe that you can tell us you can do in your career that will be useful for this crisis, but also the post-crisis?
So Mr. Moez, firstly, thank you for welcoming me. And I'd like to add that I'm super stoked to be on this discussion. Just to weigh back in, as I said, I'm really excited to be on this discussion. And you know, this is a very big loaded question. So let me break it down a little bit, of course. And I'll start off by saying that I don't like to think of youth as one category. I like to think of children, I like to think of adolescents, and then young people. And our experience during this epidemic is very different. For example, about a month ago, I was in a discussion with little children, and they were asking me questions on radio about coronavirus. And I was also quite shocked by the levels of questions that came through. So I talk about the two-way street of engagement that we discuss in the Lancet. The one is you're saying that we need a response tailored to young people at every part of their lives. So someone who's an adolescent is having a very different experience to someone who's looking for employment, for example. But then linked to that is also what young people can bring to the table. And I'd like to use this platform to say that unfortunately, as we're seeing globally in institutions, but also in our governments, that young public health professionals are not being drawn on as the resource that they are. So that's the one angle I take. In terms of some of the best practices, and I think the Don't Go Viral campaign is fabulous. It really brought together such a diverse, rich network of young people, but people to be part of the fight against the infodemic. And when you're tailoring to youth responses, so for example, I work a lot on HIV, and the minute you're speaking to young people and you either say HIV or contraception, no one's interested and everyone switches off. So it's really, how do you tailor your message? So for example, if you're talking about relationships versus HIV, that would catch someone's interest. I'll end off by saying that I think we also don't think of young people as just being responsive to fun, hip information, but also being technical experts and engaging with data that's coming through. And I'll go back to the little children that I spoke to who were able to ask, where does corona come from? What does this mean if mommy gets it, for example? So I'll end off there for now.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I think this question is really more than relevant, and everybody who was, will ask this question is could we find the right answer to it. Yeah, so now before starting with this last round of questions, and as an introduction to this next question to Bobi, could Islam kindly show the public service announcement of Bobi for the Don't Go Viral campaign? Is it possible?
Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome.
Hi, this is Bobi Wine, a musical artist and a member of parliament from Uganda. I want to invite my fellow artists and all creatives all over the world to join the Don't Go Viral campaign. Let us share information to help our people, especially those in the ghetto and those that don't have easy access to information.
The bad news is that everyone is a potential victim. But the good news is that everyone is a potential solution.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate this another PSA. Bravo. But I would like to ask a question here, maybe much more complicated than this. You're challenging a little bit. You know that many artists are concerned when it comes to openly licensing their creative content. The same challenges exist when we talk about open data. Can you tell us more about why these kinds of Creative Commons licenses are important in advocacy and awareness-raising initiatives like Don't Go Viral? Right now is a hard time for artists and actors in the creative sector. And I know from my colleagues here in UNESCO and from the culture sector that they are really targeting these kind of objectives, but try to help to support the community to support the creative economy. And this is very important, and especially in this crisis. So what needs to be discussed so artists understand that they can both do good by openly licensing their content and do well by monetizing at the same time their culture products? There seems to be a lot of misunderstanding about the use of this license and its life-saving impact. So Bobi, can you address this kind of these questions and try to highlight how you what is your views on this open license content?
Thank you, Mr. Moez. First of all, I want to acknowledge that as an artist, and of course, with due respect to my fellow artists, Lulu, and all other artists, talent is a source of wealth and it's what sustains artists' families, and anything that is good that goes out there, you know, it's commercial and, you know, business for the artist. But in my own case, where I come from and my history, I did not get into music simply because I had an amazing voice or because I wanted to make a lot of money. I went into music because I had something to say on my own behalf and on behalf of many people that think like me that needed a voice. So that was the primary reason why I got into music. And indeed, over time, much as live performance has been my thing and my way of income, I've always wanted my messages to go far and wide. And that is why I'm one of the artists that have not complained so much about piracy, music piracy. Although it is not a good thing, it's certainly not a good thing, but it has given some benefits, especially in Uganda, where I come from, where revolutionary music and socially conscious music does not get the opportunity to play far and wide. Now, in the case of the COVID-19 pandemic song, I thought that that was my personal contribution to humanity. It is more of corporate social responsibility. And indeed, the artists that inspire me, artists like Fela Kuti and Hugh Masekela, these are artists that, yes, they were very talented, but they taught us that music, especially in times of need, is not supposed to be for entertainment. It's supposed to be revolutionary. It is supposed to be edutainment. And that is the reason why I thought that if I openly license that song, it will do more for humanity than myself. My only reward is to be able to give a contribution musically. And somehow it also gives credibility to music. And that's why I also encourage other artists to once in a while do something for humanity and give it for free.
Thank you, Bobi. I think it's for your strong messages on how you talk to the other artists. Now, if you allow me, I think that we have been, we know from the assessments also of the Ebola response in West and Central Africa, that community engagement is to co-create public health guidance is critical. Two-way communications increases the effectiveness of public health advisories by establishing trust and developing credible and authentic messaging. I think this is key. So my question is to Lulu Diva, you're a role model for many in Tanzania and in Africa, with over 1.6 million followers on Instagram. What role do you think this celebrity status offers in terms of building the authenticity of health guidance? And do you have any thoughts on how communities could be further engaged to spread these messages? And I think that Africa learned a lot from the Ebola crisis. And now with this COVID coming, what do you think about the similarities also between the two crises on this aspect? Please, the floor is yours.
Well, as an artist, I have to use our social network platform to fight identity and refrain from mislead articles, invitation. We have seen people like what do we call Chakchouk, yes, which has been health invitation, innovation, fighting coronavirus. According to our fields, let's contribute our vote to fight this. So, celebrity status and as role model, I think I'm in good position to convince the people or proper access and sharing of information, especially in our third world countries. It is our role as artists to participate and cooperate with our leaders to raise citizen awareness. Communities needed to be updated with current information, but also by using social network as well. So what I'm doing every day is to protect people, to tell them, and even me to protect myself, to show them how I have to do, how you have to protect yourself. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Lulu. I know, so I will have a direct question to Justine. We know very well that Facebook has been at the front of many recent debates and concerning the propagation of disinformation, hate speech. These are many issues related to content and harmful content. But it's also and I believe it's an extraordinary platform that to share life-saving information. And I think we want to know more about what is Facebook doing to combat, or maybe not just for us, because we know somehow what Facebook is doing, but also the audience that are connected now and following our debate. What Facebook is doing to combat the epidemic, and at the same time promote relevant content that could reach otherwise marginalized communities in Africa or elsewhere, who may not have a computer also and have a smartphone or social media account. and what role of digital technology playing, and how we can fight the pandemic and the epidemic. Please, the floor is yours.
Yes, so of course, the fighting, helping the fight against COVID is the central, the most important thing that we're doing right now. So in Africa, what are we doing? So for example, we have collaborated with all the main sources of credible information, the World Health Organization, ministries of health, UNICEF, etc. And we have created a COVID information center. So if you go onto your Facebook page right now, you will see appearing the COVID information center. And if it does not appear, you can go on the side of your page and find this center. All the information is updated on a daily basis. It is extremely rich. There is a lot of content there, and it comes from the most reliable sources. That's something we're really proud about, because it was a very collaborative process, and we've deployed this across the world. So all our 3 billion users have access to the COVID Information Center for their country. So it's not news sources that necessarily come from the US or Europe, it's the sources from your own country. And we have seen incredible click rates. So people are going in there to find information. So that has been a very big source of success for us. Something else that I will mention is the grants that or funds that we are mobilizing to help all sorts of communities. So for example, for small businesses, Facebook is unlocking $100 million to help small businesses. And we're doing exactly the same for the media, another $100 million. In Africa, I've just announced a grant of $400,000 to help with the media industry during this very difficult crisis. And then when it comes to artists, we are doing our best to facilitate the connection between artists and their audiences, because without connecting with their fans, there's no art really. So we tweaked our platforms, Facebook and Instagram, to really facilitate that. So for example, on Instagram, we have the possibility of going live with, so an artist can go live with another artist, and that has created incredibly engaging content. We are also looking for ways, thinking about ways that artists can monetize their performances directly on our platforms. We are looking at ways of doing that. Actually, we are testing that at the moment in the big markets, and we're hoping that this will come to Africa. And of course, lastly, on misinformation, we work with independent fact-checking organizations. Here in Africa, there is Africa Check, Pesa Check, there's about 4 or 5 of them. Some are African organizations and others are international, like Agence France Presse and France 24. And also the BBC and Reuters, etc. So what these organizations do is that they really help us to detect false news on our platforms and remove it. We have also been very, very strict with people who circulate fake news around medical miracles and other such misinformation. We crack down on that and remove those posts. So these are some of the examples that we're doing. We are completely mobilized, and this is our #1 priority.
Thank you very much. Very useful, and very important also to highlight that empowering the societies and young people, among others, of course, communities, is essential also to combat disinformation and education, and which particularly media and information literacy is key part of our activities in UNESCO. And we hope that we can work together on those issues as well, because it's very important to fight against the epidemic and disinformation in general. Now I turn my last question to Dr. Shakira. And I know as part of the Go Viral campaign, we have received incredible content that highlighted how marginalized groups, including refugees, women, and people with disabilities, are part of the solution to fight the pandemic. This is important to engage all communities, as I mentioned before. So as a public health professional, why are advocacy initiatives that harness popular culture effective? And how can we best ensure that we both reach these marginalized and vulnerable groups with the campaign and involve them in the development of messages? So we tackled the issue of languages before, for indigenous people, for example, and local languages particularly. But now for these marginalized groups, how we can be effective? The floor is yours.
So, Mr. Moez, I like that you always ask me all these difficult questions, but I just want to add in that I think it's so fascinating to hear about the back end of Facebook, and you know, that just gets me going. But in response to you, I think this is a very important question, because I think for too long we pay lip service. We merely talk about adding on these populations, right? But are the financial resources committed to these populations? Because it's expensive to reach those who are currently excluded. And currently they're also on the list of government, for example. They're way down on the priority list for responses for coronavirus. I'm going to bang on about something that I've been banging on since the start of the pandemic, is the extended exclusion that's going to happen, both on the employment front and on the education front. And this could be for the general population, but marginalized populations as well. The fact that 44% of the world's unconnected people live on the African continent, that is something we need to tackle first. Then going specifically to your question, there's two examples I want to share, because this is just how unresponsive our response has been to people who are differently abled. I don't like the term disabled. So when we're talking about social distancing, when we're talking about not touching each other, let's make it real. If somebody is visually impaired, what does this mean for them? A visually impaired person, and I know this because I grew up in a household shaped by disability, relies on touch, relies on being close to people. What is our public health response to that? We haven't thought about that. I'll then give another example, a real life example from South Africa, which again talks to how unresponsive our response is. There's a woman who's differently abled, and her husband or partner brought in someone else he's seeing into the home during the lockdown period. They placed her in the lounge and they were abusing her. We tried to get help for her, but unfortunately, she's not a South African citizen. And this was increasingly difficult. So yes, our social development programs would allow South African women who are beaten to find homes and shelters, but someone who's disabled and a refugee or an asylum seeker was not able to do so. And so I wanted to concretize that and crystallize that, because that's the situation that we're sitting in.
Very good. Thank you, Shakira. Thank you. Thank you very much for really concisely and precisely answering my question. Now I think it's my pleasure to show, and I see John Diva here connected with us on Zoom. Hi, John. So it's my pleasure to show the winners of the Top Dissemination Prize and the 5 runners up as part of the first phase of the prizes of the Go Viral campaign. I invite Islam and John to introduce and show the winners and runners-up for this award and announce the recipients. I know there are a lot of people connected now just to see this part of this. And I think now the pressure is in you. Please, go ahead, John and Islam.
Thank you so much, Moez. Just right before we get into actually announcing the winners, we have a surprise guest. It's an incredible story that we just ran across last night. It was really cool. So we wanted to share this with everyone who's watching, and also give Mr. Santos a few minutes to also describe his artwork, because we think it's absolutely fantastic. So I'm just going to play a video briefly, and then Mr. Santos is going to join us for a few minutes to talk about what he did. And I really hope you guys are going to be as mind blown as we were last night when we saw this. So let me share.
Great surprise. Thank you.
Yes, a surprise. So are you guys ready? There we go. So, I mean, guys, Santos, could you please come and tell us about what you just did? Because I think once you describe it, everyone will understand the magnitude of the work you've been putting for the last 7 days to make this happen.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Yeah, my name is Santos Okota, and thank you for having me. So I'll give you some background if it's okay. So some days back, we had the world received news that 600 people died after they drank neat alcohol. What takes a designer 15 minutes only takes 3 seconds in the tool I'm about to show you. So I developed a solution for the last 3 years, and I was set to launch it in March, this March. But the minute the pandemic hit the world, all my customers backed down. So the intention was simple, just to make them reach more customers. So when this call to action for Don't Go Viral came, I thought I can use the same tool and tweak it and help everyone. So I'll share with you why I did it. So the pandemic started me to develop a feature that the world can use to isolate news and information from credible sources. So the solution programmatically sieves out credible information and minimize misinformation. So it uses partly artificial intelligence, because I also have a background of design and code. So I use both of those skills to come up with this. So I'll talk about the mosaic. So I built a feature called Mix and Match, which created the mosaic. So the solution pulls pictures, hashtags, and content from different sources, credible sources, and merges them into one. So there's the manual bit of it, and there's also the coding part of it.
It's amazing. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Really awesome. Yeah, that's we're very happy to actually have you join us and also to share how you came about to create this incredible, piece of art. It took you 59,000, I believe, 59 pieces of content, both digitally and manually, and that's just really, really amazing. But thank you so much for joining us on this call. And we are going to now go to the part where we are extremely excited and have been waiting, and hundreds of people are waiting for the prizes to be announced. So again, thank you so much, Santos, for joining us. And I'm going to play a video that has all the nominees for the Best Dissemination Award. So we're going to be announcing 5 runner-up awards of $1,000 each, and then the winning dissemination award of $5,000. So guys, if you're watching and you submitted, please stay tuned, and this is going to be really cool. And John is going to announce the winners. Let me show you guys the video.
Lave-toi les mains, de savoure-toi le nez, évite les contacts physiques. Coronavirus est là, lave-toi les mains, de savoure-toi la bouche, évite les contacts. dunia, dunia, inaua. Protège ta life face au coronavirus. Protège ta life, protège ta life. Don't you be concerned for
Mama Laje and Mrs. O, as well as everyone in the market, should have had sanitizers handy. When she got home, she should have washed her hands properly before playing with her children and husband. Now, they too will go out, not knowing they are carriers and spread the virus to others.
la chanson des enfants confinés, de loin on s'en voit des baisers. La chanson des enfants confinés.
Amway, Bepan, but this is too much. Why do you have to drive in your condition? You seem to be very sick.
The bad news is that everyone is a potential victim, but the good news is that everyone is a potential solution. Sensitize the masses to sanitize, keep a social distance and quarantine. Stop!
The coronavirus is sweeping over mankind.
Everybody must be alert. It's a global pandemic. We can never take.
So, John, the moment of truth.
Yes, hello. Hello, everybody. It's really a pleasure to be joined by all of you, and I really want to thank again all of the panelists for this important conversation. I've been joining in. It's been really enlightening, and I also want to really extend a huge thank you to all of the artists for and other content creators for submitting so much wonderful and beautiful content into the campaign. I have the great honor to be able to announce the awards today, and before I do, I would like to really emphasize the point again that artists during this crisis and other content creators are really having a difficult time not being able to perform live, to be able to reach their audience. So we know that there is a lot more that could be done and should be done to support artists. We are launching a second round of the Don't Go Viral campaign together with UNESCO to encourage and increase more messages to be coming in, particularly around social cohesion, and to really emphasize the importance of co-creating response and recovery to the coronavirus pandemic. Now, with that little introduction in mind, I'm going to announce the awards. We had 5 runner-up awards for the Dissemination Prize and 1 grand prize for the Dissemination Prize. This award is really important because it's really at the center of what this campaign is about, because it was really, it's not just enough to spread a message, it's about how do you ensure that message really reaches out to people. You're really able to engage local communities exactly where they are. And so I think you'll see that that's reflected in the short list that we chose. And it's also really well reflected in the diversity of the candidates that we're going to be able to award prizes to. So for the 5 runner-up prizes, this is not in any order. I am very pleased to announce that we would like to offer a runner-up prize of $1,000 to Compagnie Cheza from Comoros. I would like to offer a prize to Abdoulaye Ndiaye, a graffiti artist from Senegal. Also, Asil Diab, also another graffiti artist from Sudan, for really getting those messages out to the streets to be able to reach people where they are. We also found Mr. Broken English from Malawi, this skit on the bus was really exceptional, as well as the performance from Sita Amina Homaya Dunya from Zanzibar, which had her song shown across TV and radio in across Tanzania for the last several weeks. So thank you all very much. And now I can announce the grand prize for the dissemination campaign, will go to Pam Luster from Burkina Faso for this really beautiful video to be able to express not just in song, but also through sign language to be able to reach the communities across Burkina Faso. So really congratulations to all of the winners, and really congratulations to everyone who participated in the campaign. In case it wasn't as clear from the video that we had from Santos, who joined us, a digital entrepreneur who's of course working in this time, also doing his part. The video that we showed from Santos was actually composed. It was a flyer from the Don't Go Viral campaign, composed of 59,000 different images that Santos took from the internet of the campaign, from different tweets and social media posts, and created a mosaic and a collage. So that really shows the number of participants in the campaign. So really thank you to everyone who participated in this.
Woohoo! Amazing.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to the winners.
Yes, exactly. It is very important. I think now we need to give them a little applause. I think that of course it's virtual applause, but maybe it's important to give all this applause for all.
Sure.
Bravo. And before closing the panel, I think that there is some questions raised in Zoom. Maybe Islam can help us to moderate the questions.
Yes, but not before we announce the video winners and the audio winners.
Oh yeah, I forgot it. Yeah, go ahead. So yeah, I thought that.
Sorry, I'm going to do the same. I'll show the video, and John is going to be delivering some really great news again. So here we go.
Everybody, let's go. Quarantine. Quarantine, everybody, quarantine. Quarantine, let's go. Everybody now, soap up. But the good news is that everyone is a potential solution. Sensitize the masses to sanitize. Keep a social distance and quarantine. Stop. The coronavirus is slipping out of protege the life. Face au coronavirus. Protege the life. On est vécu une seule fois. Alors protège ta famille. On est vécu une seule fois. Alors protège tes amis.
John, would you do us the honors?
All right, so I have to say that each of these 3 videos have blown our minds as a team for the last few weeks. We have been using the Serenades Curfew Worldwide song to kick off and close most of our team meetings over Zoom. We have a collective dance-off at most of our meetings, and in fact, we used it to kick off the Entrepreneurs Forum 2 days ago during the Pan-African Digital Assembly to get everybody up and moving. It is pretty impossible to choose amongst these incredible videos, and we chose at this point to award the best visual to the campaign that really, the video rather, that really brought in the most diversity of voices and perspectives. And in that case, we are very, very proud and very happy to announce that a video that emerged actually from a collaboration between UNESCO and UNHCR brought together refugee communities in Niger, as well as a huge coalition and collective of artists across the country of Niger, singing in a huge number of languages that span across the entire Sahelian region, are going to be winning the Best Video Award. That's going to be Danny Lee and Protège ta life. Congratulations.
Congratulations to Danny Lee. Great song and video, absolutely really inspiring. And so for our last award, which is going to be the best audio, I'm going to play the nominees, and then John will do us the honor again.
Siolele mama tuache mzaha Kioma ni ya dunia inaua Citoyens du monde devons nous protéger par de simples gestes qui poussent.
African people say no waiting. No waiting. Everybody let me hear. We say no waiting. No waiting. If you want the good things, you must wait to see. If we want what we want, day to day. If you know freedom cannot wait, say no waiting. No waiting. If you know justice cannot wait, say no waiting.
And finally.
All right, so I need to make sure that before we announce this award, there are of course many artists that joined this campaign that actually didn't put themselves into the award pool. So I want to make it clear that some of the content that came into the campaign, such as our very dear Bobi Wine, who's joining us on the panel, wasn't actually submitted into the award pool because, of course, with having breached over 1 million views on YouTube, it would be pretty hard to compete. Similarly, our dear friends from Senegal that put together this Dan Corona song, which means beat Corona in Wolof, one of the major languages in Senegal and across the region, are also not contesting for the prize. So I just want to make that clear that there are several artists, many famous and also not so famous artists that actually excused themselves from the prize. So I want to make that clear. If you don't see some artists you were expecting, that's the reason why. Now, getting into, with building up the suspense, of course, this is another category where it's basically impossible to choose the best winner because the level of musicality in each of these songs is really exceptional. The ways in which they were produced, particularly during the lockdown, is really quite mind-boggling, actually. Of course, we need to choose one winner, and so we came to the conclusion, actually, of this collaboration between artists from Nigeria, artists from France, of course, very famous artists indeed themselves, that Sean Kuti and the Frères Smith will be receiving the Best Audio Award for the campaign. And really, congratulations to your team and congratulations to everybody who participated in this campaign.
Amazing. Thank you so much, John. So we're going to be taking a few questions now from our audience. First off, again, I'd like to congratulate all the winners. This is a very, very happy day for me personally and for all of the Don't Go Viral team and the I4Policy team and UNESCO, of course. Thank you so much. This has been a really incredible journey for us. And thank you, Bobi. Thank you, Lulu. And Dr. Shakira. I'm not saying bye. I just want to say thank you and tell you guys that I'm grateful for all of you and the work that you do. We have a question from to Bobi from Renee Parker, one of our community members in I4Policy as well. Incredible woman. Her question, she first says that she really loves this song, the Coronavirus Alert. Her question is, if you could go back to before writing this song, would you want to change anything about it or add anything extra to it?
Wow, that's a big question, but if I was to go back again, I think I would just add one thing, the fact that we need to wear masks. I did not mention it, and I see that it's also another very important thing that we must remind people to do, to always wear face masks. It's another method of prevention.
Yes, absolutely. I think also as an artist, it is pretty interesting to always go back and forth with the things that you produce and maybe wanting to change a few things. But I think it's a really important point that you mentioned, Bobi. Remix. Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's gonna be our Bobi.
I'm
Yes.
sorry.
I also personally have a question as well, if I may ask, to Bobi as well. I think you, as an artist, you have inspired a lot of people over the last couple of years in many different aspects. So, what advice would you give artists who are still trying to create or are creating content at the moment to support, the movement of battling infodemics?
Well, I would just remind them of the usual. There's so much power in art. And art is not just for self-pleasure, it's not just for entertainment, but we as artists, we have a big resource that has been invested in us. If there's anything, if there's any advice that I could give to fellow artists and creatives all over the world, is to remind them of how powerful their talents are, and to remind them that there's some great voice, great resource that was invested in us as artists. And yes, it's all right to use it for our own personal gratification and improvement, but out of my own experience, the more you give it out to humanity, is the more it comes back to you in terms of satisfaction and self, gratification. So let us use our music, especially in times of need like this, to better humanity, and indeed, it will always come back to us in surplus.
Yes, absolutely. I absolutely agree. And we should all take Bobi's advice on this, guys. Let's create more music and more content and more art. And we need to inspire everyone and all together, because without each other, there's nowhere to go. And artists are incredibly important. And I think through this campaign, we've also realized the absolute importance and the necessity of artists at all levels of our work, whether it is, in civic engagement or just simply for you to relax. If it wasn't for artists, we wouldn't be able to survive, being quarantined and so on. So thank you so much for your input, Bobi. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think that would be it. I haven't seen, there's not a lot of questions coming in, and unfortunately the questions that are coming in are in Swahili or in Luganda. So it can be very quite difficult to moderate that. Mr. Moez?
Yes, I see that there are all the questions coming for Bobi, and this means that how famous he is in Africa. And this is very important for us, because we learned a lot from this experience, that engaging with artists and from Africa is important to disseminate the right messages, and particularly for this crisis. So I think it's very important that we maybe close this session. I would like to thank all the panelists for their insightful comments. I would also like to thank especially the I4Policy team that has worked tirelessly to get the incredible wealth of creative content out to the communities most in need. I'm aware that many of you are in different countries in Africa and facing several challenges, including virus infection of you and your families, family members, lack of electricity, lack of internet connection, and we saw some trouble, technical issues. I think this is also particularly important to address. Lack of access to possible needed medical care, full nights without sleep, and many others. I think that we learned a lot from UNESCO, from our partners, how about this campaign and how you address these issues in a different manner. You are very close to the citizens, you are very close to the vulnerable communities, and for us, it's very important to really raise the right issues and to provide and promote access to information. I'm also want to thank all the team, but my team as well, who worked with the I4Policy, Marius, Islam, Lorenzo, Eva, and John, and the Pan-African I4Policy team. I think this is a very important team that achieved a lot within this campaign. When we started this campaign, we didn't expect all this energy coming from different artists, but also from our communities. And this is very important to highlight that UNESCO will keep committed to continuing this cooperation and to co-create the post-COVID world of tomorrow with all of you. Of course, you participate in this panel, but I think the debate is still on. We have a lot of issues to tackle also in the post-crisis and the post-COVID crisis. I think this is all the questions that was raised and the importance of disseminating the right information and to combat disinformation is a project that continue to work on. And I think that with your help, with your engagement, this will be very important for our future. In closing, I want to underline that the Don't Go Viral campaign remains open to submissions and encourage everyone to contribute content highlighting our solidarity and our co-creation of our response and recovery to COVID. Stay safe, stay home, and stay engaged. I'm really pleased to be with you today, and of course to stay engaged with you for the future action. Thank you very much. The floor is yours.
Thank you for having us.
Shukran, thank you. I'd just like to thank again all of our panelists. Mr. Bobi Wine, incredible speaking with you and having you on board with us. Dr. Shakira, Choonara, thank you so much for your very valuable insights. Lulu, Diva, Asante Sana, thank you so much for joining us today. It was lovely having you. Unfortunately, Jocelyn had to leave quite early for some work emergency, but we thank you so much, Jocelyn, for joining us today on this call. Huge shout out to Sasha, entire UNESCO team, to our beautiful team at I4Policy. I can't even begin to, I think, mention or thank everyone. You guys, everything was amazing. I'm really happy. Congratulations to all our winners. Thank you guys so much for your time today, and continue sharing correct information and make art, and let's get more content. The Don't Go Viral campaign is not stopping. Thank you guys and have a great day.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.